Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Dave from mygunvalues.com, and today we're going to continue our series on the SKS rifle. And you know, for those of you who are sharp-eyed out there, you probably noticed that this is not an SKS. I've got this up here just to kind of show how one design can lead to another. If you compare this and the SKS that will come up on the table here in a second, you notice that they share a lot of lines and similarities. This, of course, is the 9130 carbine Soviet 7.62 by 54R is the chambering. It's obviously a bolt action. SKS is semi-automatic. But things like, you know, the bayonet mount. Take a look at the form of that. And the bayonet swings out like that. You know, you've got your hooded front sight here, hole on the top. You've got the stripper clip mount right here. Now it's machined into the receiver, but you'll get the idea. The ladder sight. This particular model is a 1952. I've never been able to find import markings on it, so I have a suspicion this was a Korean War bringback, although I can't prove that. So we'll put this away. And we'll bring up an SKS. Now this SKS is Chinese, it's not Russian, but you can see that the similarities to the lines. Look at the bayonet mount. That bayonet mount stuck out the side, this one sticks down, but you know, that's the same bayonet mount. Hooded front sight, bigger hole to let more light into the front post, but hooded front sight. So this rifle at least partially borrows from that rifle. You know, ladder sight. They're different, but they're similar. One inspired the other. So anyway, in the part one, I told you about the SKS, or about the 7.62 by 39 cartridge. The rifle, you know, as I said in part one, the rifle did not really get going until 1949 because everybody was just awash with weapons after World War II, and they really had no need of them. So after World War II, the Soviets decided, hey, you know, America has this semi-automatic rifle, we need to catch up. So they came out with this. They started in 1949 at the Tula Arsenal. T-U-L-A is the spelling on that. And then in 1952, 53, I've read different dates on different sources. At the Ishvesk, it's spelled I-S-H-E-V-S-K, I believe, Arsenal, they began producing SKSs. Now the SKS was short-lived because select fire, fully automatic weapons were on the horizon. There was some experimentation about bringing this rifle up to fully automatic stature, never really materialized. The sources I've read said they didn't, you know, they were not reliable under full auto conditions. So this rifle was, as it was, a semi-automatic weapon. And, you know, by 1954, Russia was transitioning to a true assault rifle. We had, of course, gone to the M14. And while we're on the subject of assault weapons, let me back up a little bit, tell you how I acquired this one. Back in 1993 was when Bill Clinton and the Congress was debating the assault weapons ban. The definition of an assault weapon is a weapon that is capable of fully automatic fire. This does not fit the definition. It's semi-automatic. And today, of course, it also doesn't have a detachable magazine. So there are SKSs that do have a detachable magazine. This isn't one of them. Well, like most human beings, when you're told, you know, you can't have something, that makes you want it all the more. So before the ban went into effect, I bought this one. you know, $129, $139 new back then. It was produced new for the American marketplace. And of course, this was a banned weapon for 10 years. No reason for it, but it was banned for 10 years. So, you know, I have, until Mike emailed me that got this video series started, I probably hadn't fired this thing in a good solid 10 years. So we got, so I got this one out, dusted off. I've thought about selling it many times. I've just never gotten around to it. So now we have this one available for this video series. And, you know, in the next part, or two parts as the case may be, we're going to go through the identifying characteristics of these and determining where they're manufactured. We'll also tell you the backstory of how they're listed on the mygunvalues.com database, because they presented a problem that's not, well, it's not unique, it's unusual to us, the way our system's structured. So we'll do that in the next series of videos. We'll start with the identifications. So one thing that made this rifle very, very rugged is it was easy to take down and clean and maintain. So we'll open the magazine up here, close the bolt. So we'll take this thing apart just so you can see how quick and easy it is, if you can get that lever, that little lever to come up. There we go. That'll slide out that way. Receiver cover's off, recoil spring's off. The bolt is out. Come up here, and this, you do need a screwdriver bit for, at least I do. There's a little lever right there beside the sight. You flip that up. Handguard, gas tube, operating rod, all that comes out. You can get here and clean your gas port this way. Clean the barrel. You can clean the barrel from the back end with a little bit of flexible cleaning rod. I prefer bore snakes, and those are really, really easy to use. The hardest thing with this one, I think, is cleaning around this rear sight. Lots of little crevices and stuff for gunk and crud to get into. But you're in there, you can clean it very, very easily at this point. Reassembly is just as easy. Put your rod back in. And she's back together. This lever down here is your safety. Blocks the trigger. Down, it should fire because I racked the bolt. Snap your magazine closed. When you go to load these, and I'm going to do this in the room because I can unload this magazine without closing the bolt. Flip the safety forward. Safety's on. What you're supposed to be able to do is take your thumb and push them in. I've found with this one, it's easier to come out to the side and kind of stop and start to get them in there. But still easier than loading them one at a time. And if I were to rack the bolt back, it would be ready to fire. I'm not going to do that here in the building. Dump the cartridges out. Take the safety off. I like to store these with the springs relaxed. See if I can do this. There we go. I don't like having my springs under tension if I can avoid it. So that is the basics on the SKS, the teardown. In the next part, we'll get into all the various countries and how to identify them, and there are 8, and let's see if I can get this right, if I can remember them all. The 2 big ones are Russia and China, North Korea, North Vietnam. Then you had let's see, you had Albania, Romania, Yugoslavia, and East Germany, all produced SKS rifles. And there's a way to tell most of them apart from the other, so that if you're looking at one at a gun show or at a yard sale, if you live in a state where you can still buy them, you know, private sales are still allowed, whatever, you can hopefully identify the gun so you know what you're purchasing. Certain SKSs are far more valuable than others. The Chinese ones are what they are. They're Chinese. They're not ever going to be super valuable, although this one's appreciated at $150, $200 since I bought it. But not any more than that. Excuse me. Been a long weekend. Anyway, so that's the basic SKS. Like I said, in the next video we have a lot of still shots superimposed, and we'll discuss the various methods of identification, where the markings can be found, and we'll end the series shooting this one and discussing the reloading and the cartridge a little bit more. So, and like I said, the identification video, I haven't decided yet if that's going to be 1 or 2 parts, but time will tell. We'll see how that one shoots out. So, or times out when I shoot it. One more thing I should mention. I almost forgot. Ever forget? Happened to me. And if you guys know that comedian, I won't mention his name, but you know. Anyway, when you go to take this down, this stock cross bolt here, most people think you unscrew this. It's not the way this one works. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but there's a nut here with 2 little holes on the sides of it, and there's a special tool made where you can spin that nut off. Problem is, the threads on the bolt have been rounded over, so that nut's not supposed to come off. So a lot of times you have to drill this out or otherwise damage this to get that to unthread. So if you ever take it apart, you may very well end up having to order a new cross bolt to get it back together. So just something to keep in mind when you're doing with one of these, when you're dealing with one of these. There's really no reason to have to separate the stock from the action most of the time. But for now, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're learning something. And like I said, next time we'll get into some more details on the various types of these things. If you have any questions or any comments, you want to see something, don't hesitate. Send us an email here through the www.mygunvalues.com website, or you can shoot us a comment here on the YouTube channel, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Thanks for watching.